I was too tired to make the last hour into Kansas City. I'd been on the road since sunrise, and by the time the clouds turned the sky into a low, bruised ceiling, my vision had begun to blur at the edges. Signs whipped past like smears of light. At some point, I realized I didn't remember the last 3 miles I'd driven. So when I saw the flickering red vacancy sign of the Valley View Motor Lodge, sitting just off the I-47 exit, I pulled in without thinking. The place looked forgotten, single-story brick, warped window frames, a parking lot cracked with weeds. A faded mural of a river ran along the office wall, chipped and sun-scorched. The clerk, a thin man with washed-out blue eyes, barely looked up when I tapped the counter. "Night rate's 62, cash or card," he said. His voice was soft but had a strange tremor, like he was forcing it through cold lungs. He handed me the key to room 14. The metal tag was scratched to hell. "Let me guess," I said, trying to make a joke. "Busy night?" He blinked slowly. "We don't get much noise around here." It seemed like a weird answer at the time, a lot less weird later. I must have passed out instantly. The next thing I knew, I was staring at the room's dark ceiling, heart hammering, unsure what had woken me. Then I heard it. A sharp thud from the wall to my right, room 15. Then a man's voice strained, angry. "Stop, just stop it." A woman answered, her voice pitched with panic. "No, don't touch me. Don't you." Something crashed. Wood? A lamp? Furniture? Then came the scream. Raw, terrified, something animal in it. A sound a person makes only once. And then, silence. A silence that seemed to swallow the room, dense and unnatural. I held my breath, waiting for movement, footsteps, anything. Nothing. I grabbed my phone, no service. The motel's Wi-Fi wasn't connecting either. My pulse thudded in my temples. I had to check. I don't know why, morbid instinct, maybe, but I had to. The open door. The moment I stepped outside, the cold hit me like a slap. A thin mist drifted across the lot, hugging the ground. Room 15's door was open a few inches. "Hello?" I called softly. Nothing. I pushed the door fully open. The room was dark, perfectly still, and perfectly tidy. Bed made, curtains drawn. Desk empty. Like no one had stayed there in weeks. But the carpet near the bed, there were faint, dark smears. Not fresh, but not old either. Someone had tried to clean them. Badly. A draft brushed my ankles. That's when I noticed the narrow maintenance hatch in the inner wall, next to the bathroom door. It hung slightly open, and from inside, a dragging sound, sticky, wet, slow. Something was moving inside the walls. I stumbled backward so fast I nearly slipped. I bolted for the office. The clerk looked up as I burst through the door, breathless. "There's someone in room 15. I gasped. "A fight?" Someone screamed. "There's blood, something's in the wall." He didn't even stand. Instead, he folded his thin hands on the counter. "Room 15 hasn't been rented in 3 days. I stared at him. "I just heard." He shook his head. "This building carries sound. The pipes shift at night." His tone was rehearsed, practiced. I realized then he hadn't been surprised I came running. He'd been waiting for it. "We can call the sheriff if it helps you rest easier," he added. It didn't help, but he called anyway. The sheriff arrived 20 minutes later, middle-aged, heavyset, irritated at having to come out so late. He checked room 15 thoroughly, shining his flashlight across every surface. The dark stains were gone, perfectly. Not even a shadow left in the fibers. The maintenance hatch, empty, packed with undisturbed dust. No sign anyone's been here, he said. Old place like this? Sounds bounce around. Could have been the TV in another room. No one else has checked in, I whispered. The sheriff paused, considering that. Well, pipes then. Old plumbing can moan like a person screaming, but even he didn't sound convinced. He took my statement, thanked the clerk, and left without looking back. I didn't bother trying to sleep again. At dawn, I threw my bag into the car and didn't even check out. I just wanted to be gone. It wasn't until I merged back onto the highway that I realized I'd forgotten my charger on the nightstand. I told myself I'd buy a new one. There was no way in hell I was turning back. I was eating lunch at my desk when the headline flashed across the local station's website. Human remains found in walls of abandoned Missouri motor lodge. Authorities estimate death occurred 8 to 12 years ago. My stomach turned to ice. I clicked the article. Contractors preparing the Valley View motor lodge for auction had discovered a hidden crawl space running the length of the building, one not shown on any blueprint. Inside were bones, fragments of clothing, and, disturbingly, deep gouges in the wood, as if someone had tried desperately to claw their way out. The report quoted the Sheriff Dalton saying the remains were far too old to be connected to any recent complaint. My hands trembled on the mouse, because whatever I heard that night, the woman's voice, the struggle, that final scream, it couldn't have been a decade-old ghost. It was too real, too present, too alive. But the stains on the carpet, the dragging in the maintenance shaft, and the perfectly cleaned room moments later, like something had retreated back into the walls, like it had done it before, again and again. Sometimes late at night when my house goes quiet, I swear I hear that same dragging sound somewhere behind the drywall. Slow, wet, patient, like it followed me, or like it knows I heard it once and is waiting for me to hear it again. It was 1:12 a.m. when I finally turned off the highway with trembling hands and pulled into a tiny motel on the outskirts of town. A full day at the trade fair, followed by 5 hours of driving through rain. My eyelids felt like sandbags. The place was called North Pine Lodge, a single-story strip with flickering, pale yellow lights. Half the letters on the sign didn't even work. The clerk flipped through the registry book with exhausted eyes. "Room 109, last one available," she said. I took the key and dropped myself into the room. I fell onto the bed and shut my eyes before I even plugged in my phone. Just as I slipped into deep sleep, a metallic sound tore through my ears. At first I thought the wind was rattling some metal awning. Then the steady rhythm sliced through my drowsiness like a knife. Something was hitting, or falling. There was something strange about the sound, like it was both very close and not close at all. It had a faint old echo to it, as if the sound itself was aged. I dragged myself to the door. The noise was coming from the small hallway right across from my room. At the end of the hall, beneath a flickering fluorescent light, stood the ice machine. Sure, someone must be getting ice at this hour, I thought. But why so rhythmically? Curiosity replaced sleepiness. I peered through the peephole. No one at first. Just as I leaned back, I caught movement from the left. Per Adam Kakageldi, Zizarin Somek Ribber Sweatshirt. Kamura Bulanmik per X Pantalonu, Elind Metal per Buzz, Kavask. Kolvanen Iki Bose Grunior Du. Yavas Suracleaner Gibi Urirak Buzz Mackensen Allerledi. As soon as he reached it, that clank, clank, clank began again, but something was wrong. When he reached into the machine, he barely even touched the bucket. He didn't press it to the dispenser chute, yet the sound intensified like ice was being poured into it. Then he shuffled back down the hallway and dissolved into the shadows at the far end. Just as I started to calm down, he reappeared and repeated the same movements, again, same rhythm, same steps, perfectly identical every time. I tried going back to bed, but the sound continued. 5 minutes later again, another 5 minutes again, same pattern, not a second off. Finally, unable to take it anymore, I cracked the door open. "Hey," I whispered, half shouting. "You okay? Need help?" The man didn't turn, didn't stop. It was as if he couldn't hear me or see me. I headed downstairs. The silence of the night made my stomach tighten. Only the distant hum of passing trucks on the highway filled the emptiness. The clerk rubbed her eyes and looked up at me. "The ice machine isn't working," she said immediately, before I even asked. I froze. "What do you mean?" "It sounds like someone's using it right now." She shook her head. "It's been broken for 3 days. We're waiting for a repairman. It's not even plugged in." My chest hollowed out. Then the sound upstairs was all I could manage. The woman saw the fear in my eyes. She grabbed a flashlight. "Let's go check." As we walked down the hallway, the machine kept sounding off. The clerk's face grew paler with each step. "This isn't possible," she whispered. We reached the machine. The cord really was unplugged from the wall. The machine was completely dead. When she shined the light inside, the interior was rusted and dusty, obviously non-functional. Yet the sound seemed to vibrate from inside. Then suddenly the sound wasn't coming from the machine anymore. It was coming from the end of the corridor. Someone was walking in the dark. Slowly, the metal bucket swung with each dragging step. The clerk seized my arm, gripping tight. "Go back to your room," she whispered through clenched teeth. "And do not open your door for anything." Her voice quivered between panic and command. The moment I locked myself inside, I stuffed a towel under the door, turned off the lights, sat upright on the bed, fully awake, and the loop began. Every 5 minutes, the man seemed to pass right in front of my room. At times, I felt him stop directly in front of my door. The dead silence, no breathing, no shifting, just the drag of his boots across the tiles. At 4:36 a.m., I could swear I heard the bucket being set down right outside my door, but I didn't open it. I couldn't. I felt like the slightest movement would alert whatever that thing was, and it would finally notice me. When the sun rose, the hallway was completely silent. Downstairs, the night clerk was gone. An older man had taken her place. As I explained what happened, he lowered his eyes. "She shouldn't have told you anything," he muttered. "Some things are better left alone here." He pulled a wrinkled newspaper clipping from a drawer and laid it on the counter. A report from 8 years ago. Local carpenter crushed inside ice machine. The man had gone out late at night to get ice for his sick daughter. The machine's faulty lid had slammed down on him. Nobody heard him call for help. In the photo, he was smiling, holding a metal ice bucket. The same face, the same eyes, the same gray sweatshirt, the same faint stubble, the same man I saw in the hallway. The motel owner tapped the clipping with his finger. Every night at the same time, he walks the same path, fills the same bucket, makes the same sound. His expression darkened. He's trapped in his loop, the same way he died. As I stepped outside, the wind slammed a metal door somewhere in the courtyard. In the distance, I heard it again. The moment the notice of my flight cancellation hit my phone, the hum inside the terminal suddenly felt heavier. Everyone was moving toward different gates, different lines. I was left to accept that there was no alternative to get to Phoenix on my own. It was 9:14 p.m. I wanted nothing more than a hot shower, a bed, and silence. The rental desk attendant said, "If you want, you can make it in about 6 hours by car." I was too tired to think. All I could do was nod. As I drove toward Phoenix, my headlights barely touched the desert, revealing nothing. The night heat seeped in through the closed windows like dry breath. The radio signal had already cut out just past Tucson. Silence was the only companion on the road. By 2:47 a.m., my eyelids grew heavy, and I saw the sign. Blue Mirage Motel, vacancy. Its lights were long faded, half of the palm tree logo missing. But I had no other choice. The young man at the check-in desk must have dozed off earlier. He handed me the key and said, "The pool is open at night. You can cool off if you want." It sounded good. The desert heat was thick, and it wouldn't relent even by morning. My room had a large glass door facing the pool. The water shimmered in the night lights, a deep blue. Palm shadows flickered across the surface, and the pool seemed almost alive, breathing. I thought I was alone. The edge of the pool was so quiet that even my own breathing echoed. I swam a lap, then another. The water was cool, waking me up. By the third lap, I lifted my head and saw her. She was sitting on one of the lounge chairs at the far end of the pool, dark swimsuit, wet hair plastered to her shoulders, completely still, so still that I couldn't tell if she was even watching me. "Hello?" I called, no answer. There was no hostility, no friendliness, just emptiness. On my next lap, the chair was empty, but there were wet footprints moving across the dark blue tiles toward the chair and then abruptly stopping. It was as if someone had walked and vanished into thin air. My heart raced, but I reminded myself that I was too tired to trust everything I was seeing. I walked back to my room via the pool gate. Just before reaching the metal handle, I glanced back at the water. She was back in the same chair. She hadn't moved, hadn't made a sound, yet she was there. Our eyes met. This time her expression wasn't empty. It carried something older, deeper, more meaningful. Slowly she stood. I held my breath. She walked toward the pool, then stepped onto the surface, as if there were invisible steps. Her feet didn't sink into the water. The pool refused to accept her. She descended straight down, her body remaining rigid, and then disappeared beneath the surface. I froze. A moment passed. Then I drew a deep breath and jumped in after her. I dove to where she had gone. My eyes burned, my heart felt like it would burst. But there was no one there. No dark swimsuit, no skin, no hair, only murky water rippling in the dim light. For a brief instant I felt something brush my ankle. I turned around. Nothing, but the shadow in the water seemed alive, as if something was breathing beneath the surface. Panicked, I surfaced. The desk clerk saw me at the pool and came running. "What are you doing? Are you okay? Where is she? Where did she go? Who?" I pointed at the water, still gasping. "Someone was walking here, I saw it. They vanished." He looked around. Then he returned from the control room with a tablet showing the pool cameras. On the screen, it was only me swimming alone, not a single wet footprint anywhere else. He bit his lip. "Quiet," he said in a low voice. "You really are alone. Maybe you're just very tired. The desert heat, the long drive, it can play tricks on your mind." But the tone was not an explanation. It was a plea. I looked at the wet footprints on the tiles. There was nothing besides my own. Back in my room, I locked the door and my phone buzzed. Unable to sleep, I checked online reviews for the motel. Most were mundane. Rooms are old, but cheap. The pool is nice. One review caught my attention. Written 6 months ago. No profile picture. Someone was swimming in the pool at night, but when I approached, no one was there. At that moment, a slow drip of water fell from under the door. I got up and looked. A small puddle had formed just inside. There was a single wet footprint by the door. One step, just one, as if someone had paused there, waiting. No more steps. No indication of where it had come from. Then, from the hallway, a sound, a low, muffled breath, as if someone were surfacing from underwater. A woman's breath, followed by a faint whisper, "I found you." I pressed my eye to the peephole. Darkness. The hallway light was on, but a shadow lingered outside the door. Tall, thin, rigid. The shadow vanished instantly. The hallway appeared empty, but just as I stepped back, a wet finger appeared on the edge of the peephole. It slid slowly downward, a droplet tracing the glass. I recoiled, trembling. Then the metal door handle moved on its own. The door shuddered. Something was pushing, trying to get in. "Go! Get out of here!" I gasped. The pressure lifted suddenly. From the end of the hallway, footsteps approached, heavy and muffled, as though someone were walking underwater. The sound faded toward the stairs. My alarm jolted me from a fragmented, restless sleep. I thought it had all been a dream, but seeing the dried water footprints under the door froze me entirely. At reception, the night clerk was gone, replaced by an elderly woman. I started to explain, but she looked me in the eyes and said, "Did you not see anyone near the pool last night?" I froze. "What do you mean?" She pressed her lips together. "Sometimes guests see someone. They usually think they're just tired. The desert can play tricks on your mind. So who was it?" She shook her head slowly. "No one knows. She just always walks straight, towards the water." A pause, and no one can see her face completely. As I got into the rental car, I looked at the pool one last time. The morning sun reflected off the water. I hit the gas and my phone buzzed. Review your stay at Blue Mirage Motel. I opened it. 2 options. Was your stay comfortable? Did you experience any problems? Below, a faint gray text scrolled through quick user reviews. The newest, posted at 5:43 a.m. by Anonymous. Last night you weren't swimming alone. My phone slipped from my hands. At the end of the review, a small addition. It's strange that she chose you. She usually doesn't follow anyone. From the back seat of the car, I heard a drip of water. I glanced in the rearview mirror. In the middle of the back seat, a wet woman was sitting, hair plastered to her face. She stared at me rigidly. Then her head slowly tilted to the side, as if she had just risen from beneath the water.